All right, and as we gear up towards the commemoration of the World No Tobacco Day, what are some of the gains that have been made? Some of the loopholes and missing link still existing in the effort to combat the use of tobacco? This is a conversation we're about to have right now. My guests are already on set. This is Nancy Gachoka, who is the chair of Tobacco Control Board, to my immediate right. Next to her is Lilian Mbevi, who is the Chair Technical Committee of the Tobacco Control Board. Ladies, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Let's just start with understanding, the World No Tobacco Day as it is. I mentioned that it's 35 years later, since 1987 thereabout. But what was the whole idea or the thinking behind coming up with the World No Tobacco Day? Let me start with you, Nancy.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers. World No Tobacco Day is a day commemorated the whole world in the calendar of WHO, World Health Organization. World Health Organization looked at the global statistics of tobacco use and decided that tobacco use is the one that precipitates many diseases. And therefore, if tobacco is regulated, controlled, curtailed, then we would bring half the menace of diseases, because about 8 million people die of tobacco globally, and here in Kenya at least 6,000 die annually. And weekly we have about 69 men and about 37 women dying here in Kenya out of the causes brought about by tobacco use. So World No Tobacco Day, therefore, is commemorated within the calendar of WHO. The next thing that WHO did was to help member states sign a treaty, a health treaty called Framework Convention for Tobacco Control. And it is the member countries signed that treaty, and Kenya was a signatory since the year 2004. It was among the first countries to sign that Framework Convention for Tobacco Control. And on top of that, then Kenya domesticated that law and passed through Parliament in 2007, the Tobacco Control Act. Therefore, this World No Tobacco Day is part of the calendar of stopping tobacco use within the Framework Convention of Tobacco Control.
Well, given analysis, Nancy, and just from your analysis, it shows that the number of men precedes that of women in the use of tobacco. Clearly, we'll come to that in a bit. But Lilian, when you look at those statistics, 8 million globally, 35 years down the line, are we looking at a time whereby this number might reduce? And what is still causing this number to rise, even after some of these gains that have been made as a globe and even as a country?
I think those statistics are very clear on the effects of tobacco.
Yeah.
And so when we look at where we are headed, and the many productions that are being done in different and diverse manners, then it makes it almost it keeps me thinking that the statistics are going to increase because, one, the information is not as out there as it should be. Specifically to the students in the universities and even the youth. There are many people who don't understand what tobacco is and what effects it has to our health, to our environment, to our pockets, and there is nothing good about tobacco. So the statistics may go up. That's why we are coming up very strongly to tell Kenyans what we need to understand and what they need to know about tobacco and its adverse effects, so that we can look at reducing these numbers and making sure that the women are well taken care of. For example, you have heard from my chairperson that men are most affected. Why? Because they are the ones who use tobacco more. And secondly, women come next, because if you smoke in the same house that we are in, it means when you take 5 sticks of cigarettes, then I have taken half of what you have taken when I am around you. Why? Because there is what we call second-hand smoke. And if these women do not understand what second-hand smoke is, and the children and the way it is affecting, the statistics will keep going up. And so the same happens to the students in the universities, taking things that they do not really understand what it is, especially the electronic. The producers kept coming up with very diverse products.
We'll come to that, Lilian.
Yes.
Just before we jump ship to that part, you as a stakeholder, I mean, when you tell me as a Kenyan that the statistics might rise, we're talking about 8 million. That is globally. Nancy talked about, is it 60? In Kenya?
6 million.
6,000. So what is the problem? Is there, you mean to say that there's really not enough sensitization being done in the aspect to just curb, the use of tobacco?
Basically. Many people are not aware what are the effects. Starting with the farmers, starting with the consumers, and the students who are getting involved in what they do not know. So if everybody was aware, that's why we want to make a lot of noise and lift our voices to the top of it and tell everybody this is a dangerous product.
All right.
And so everybody needs to know its effects, and basically they need to know how to refrain out of it, and if you are already in it, there is a way to come out of it.
Okay. Make a lot of noise in terms of sensitization. That's why you have a 2-month period to ensure that you do this in quite a number of counties. Nancy, I mean, children as early as 7 years. These are children that have just got into primary school and they're already being exposed to tobacco. What is happening? Where is the missing link? Why is this even happening in the first place?
Okay, children are born in families, and children keep on taking on what the parents do.
Okay.
If a parent or a teacher or an influencer in the society is smoking, is using tobacco, then that child tries out what they see the parents do. And that's why the law prohibits parents smoking in front of children or smoking in the car. And that's why the law prohibits smoking in public places. The law prohibits smoking in anywhere that children are going or adults are going. That's why the law has limited where you can smoke. And it is going on to say every public place you cannot smoke, because we want to cut off the generation that is exposed to, at all attracted to tobacco. We, as a Tobacco Control Board, and the law, Tobacco Control Act 2007, is to rescue and shield the young people from getting there. The law prohibits promotion, advertising, sponsorship of any event. And that is why you see the tobacco manufacturers and importers, they cannot come here and advertise. That's why you see they cannot put a billboard, because the law limits. And it is not just Kenyan law, it is a global law in the Framework Convention for Tobacco Control. So the law prohibits, you cannot advertise, you cannot promote, you cannot sell single sticks, you cannot send a child, you cannot sell to youths below a certain age. And because of all those limitations by the law, and the law is pushing very hard to regulate and control that space. In the past, the parents and our generation, there was all this advertisement, and it lured so many. There was All Smooth All the Way. There was many other, that if you played a game, you become a sportsman. So there was all that lure. And so those parents were swallowed, and they continued to do that. It was, it was a cool way. The reason why we are limiting this is because when you get to one stick, the second stick and the third stick, when you start using, the nicotine in tobacco is so highly addictive. You need very few days to be addicted to nicotine. It is more addictive than all the other narcotics, You need to just start slowly. And so the manufacturer exploits that addictive nature of tobacco, the nicotine in it, and tries to capture people within that addiction. And so, because Tobacco Control Board is within the Ministry of Health, we are about public health, because we know the dangers. There are so many dangers, all these diseases. Maybe you have come across the smoker's body. There's no part of the body that is not affected. The skin, the hair, the eyes, the nose, the larynx, the voice box, the tongue, the teeth, the body, there are breast cancers, the stomach cancers, the lung cancers, cervical cancers, impotence, low libido, sterility, amputated legs, because inhaling tobacco and with all the carbon monoxide gets into lungs and compromises the blood, and the blood goes everywhere. What we have noticed of late from many psychiatrists and practitioners in health centers is that more and more young people who are being attracted to different derivatives of tobacco, the nicotine pouches, the vaping, the electronic cigarettes, and others which are flavored. Yeah. So when you are caught up in that nicotine addiction, a lot of it goes right into the brain, and we don't know what it's doing. Maybe that's why there is such a rise of mental illnesses, and there is also a lot of low fertility. Many young people are trying to conceive. They cannot because they have tried one of these products. And that's why the Ministry of Health, in conjunction with Tobacco Control Board, we banned shisha. Because shisha was a combination of many things, including tobacco. And so shisha starts banned, so that these 7-year-olds and 10-year-olds and 9-year-olds and university students don't get up into the cycle of addiction and become permanent customers or customers for life for the tobacco manufacturer. And that's why we are here.
I hear you, and that was done in 2017, but we'll come to that in a bit, just to understand why it's still on the rise out there. But let me come to you, Lilian. I mean, when you hear Nancy speak, she will clearly outline all the disadvantages of tobacco. And if you're someone of sound mind, you'd actually, if you even are using it, you'd say, maybe I would want to stop doing this. If you're farming this product, you'd say, I want to stop farming this. But let's also not be dead to the fact that we still have farmers who are farming this product, and some would say it is the source of livelihood that I have. So then again, where do you reconcile the fact that it could be, or it is, a hazardous product with the fact that it is my source of livelihood as a farmer?
Okay, we have many farmers who have found themselves in this. When they were born, they have found their fathers doing the same, and so they continually did the same. And we have quite many of them. So we could not just tell them to stop immediately. And what we have done, we have taken it upon ourselves to educate them, to make sure that they understand what are the effects of growing this, because it affects from the soil. When you look at this tobacco plant, it grows to be a very leafy plant and a big one, and it draws all the nutrients from the soil, in that it depletes the soil, depletes the environment. When you once you start curing it, you have to get trees and cut them down into wood so that you can cure the tobacco. So it depletes the environment, and also the children who are used as laborers, especially in those areas where we grow tobacco. You find the children do not go to school. They actually are the ones who are used to water it, in curing, in growing it. They are the ones who do that. So it affects the children, it affects the growers, it affects, as you continue to interact with the plant, you are actually taking it in. As you continue to use your bare hands
even
to
without
handle
necessarily
it.
smoking
Yes,
it.
without even smoking, just handling the plant, you are actually bringing it into your body, because it's a very corrosive product. And so it gets into you actually get a disease in your hands as you continue to interact with it. So that it affects. And so we have continued to educate the farmers. We have gotten into partnership where we now educate them that they can make their source of livelihood from other things or other plants. You can grow something else, and also trying to educate them on how to change that soil and make it better one more time, so that they can be able to grow different kinds of products, and they can also make money. We also try to show them how this plant is actually controlled by the manufacturer. So it's a manufacturer who decides how much am I going to pay the farmers for them to be able to give me their product. And you can't stay with the product, because where do you take it? If you don't give to the manufacturer, so it has no use for you. So you have to sell it at whatever low costs. So eventually we show them you can make more money, and a few have transformed, and we are continually showing them it is possible to do that. And we are hoping in the near future we will have nobody growing tobacco. But we have to wean them out. We have to wean them out slowly by letting them understand the benefits, the commercial benefits of getting out of tobacco, and at the same time what are the effects of this plant into the environment, into your pocket, because when you get sick, and when you the children also get sick, because as they cure it, what happens, the fumes that come out of it are very adverse effects, both to the women, that sometimes they are not able to conceive, and when they conceive, they are not able to carry that to term. And if they carry it to term, then the children who are born have many deformities, and it therefore affects the community. And then the money that you get out of selling that product, you eventually use it on your health to be able to make your life better. And so just to show them that it is more, when you put it in a weighing scale, the disadvantages are more than the advantages. So they understand that, and we help them. We give them the seedlings, we give them the information, get fertilizer for them, for at least for them to be able to jumpstart their lives again from whatever they have been doing, and then looking into the forward.
Right. Yeah. So you give them seedlings. I mean, which alternative crops is this that you're telling them to grow, and possibly why that could replace them, farming tobacco?
I want to pose that question to my chair, because she has been there where they are usually grown, and she has seen what seeds are doing better. But the first of all is to cure the soil, because without curing the soil, there is basically no other plant can make it there. But so when we cure the soil, we are able to give them diverse seedlings for the same. But I would want my chair to add on to that.
All right.
Yes.
So the chair technical says you're the best person to respond to that question.
Yeah, thank you. The pilot project, we partnered with WHO, FAO, Food and Agriculture, and World Food Program. And the crop that we tested was beans, high iron beans.
So this is the alternative?
That is the alternative, called the Nyota bean. And it is doing very, very well. And we have met those farmers, and they are very, very happy. So the beans was the first crop that we introduced. But first we had to regenerate the soil, because tobacco plant is very greedy. It's a very greedy. It depletes all the nutrients, the nitrogen. It depletes all the pests. It just makes the soil useless. And so we have introduced in two ways: the regeneration of the soil, planting of the Nyota bean, because it's also nitrogen fixing, and it is doing very well. 60, 70 days you have a harvest. And then the labor, tobacco plant is a very labor intensive, and you have to almost be there 24/7, 365 days, tending it and growing it. So we are bringing the farmers less burden, more food to eat, and the land is regenerated, because for one acre of tobacco, you have to cut 2.5 tons of firewood. And so there is desertification and completely depression of environment. And that's why the World No Tobacco Day this year, on the 31st of May, we are talking about tobacco and the environment. Yeah.
Now, I'll come to you on that one. Tobacco and the environment. Actually, the theme is threat to our environment. I mean, when we talk about tobacco usage, we so much think about the health effects. It's not as quick for us to think about the adverse effects it has to our environment. So I just want you to talk to us about this theme, perhaps maybe the analogy behind this theme, threat to our environment, and probably what it's set to do, even in the minds of just people when it comes to conserving our environments and them not using tobacco in the first place.
Now, if you go to the areas where tobacco is grown, there is a lot of, as the chair said, there is a lot of depleting of trees.
Yeah.
One, because you need the trees to be able to cure. Number two is that as she has said, that the trees that you use, 1 acre of or rather one acre of tobacco, you need 2.5 tons or even more to be of wood to be able to cure that small portion of tobacco. And so you cut a lot of trees, and that's why we are saying in this one we are planting trees. We are asking everybody to plant another tree because we have already depleted. And you know, trees, that's why we have had a lot of climate change. Yeah. Because trees will attract, and where there are trees, there is a lot of rainfall coming. And then you can be able to see the fertility in the soil. But if the soil is very infertile, it means that we need to cure our soil by planting more trees. And especially in the counties where tobacco is grown, we are encouraging them to plant more trees to cure the soil and the environment. Secondly, as you cure the tobacco, there is a lot of fumes that go into the environment. And you find that every one of us is breathing in air that is not pure. And so it really causes the effects as well in us. Sometimes you wonder why small children are suffering from cancer. Because of course their health is, they are not very strong in their body. And so when they inhale such fumes that come through the air, then it is possible for them to get very affected. And so this environment is also bringing in, and pure environment is also bringing in a lot of diseases. And so we are asking everybody to be a bit aware about the effects of tobacco to the environment. When people smoke and they throw the remains of what you smoke in the sticks, in the dustbins, they end up going into the rivers, and then there is a lot of clogging, and you know that there is that sponge that is usually there. It means that we are not able to take care of what passes through our environment. And as it goes down to the drain, then it affects our environment in a very serious manner. Some of them is not a decaying, it's not that they are going to decay and get into the soil again. It is actually things that will remain for a very long time. And so we are advocating and saying that people need to be aware of the effects they are bringing into the environment. For example, when you go to the smoking zones, the smoking zones are not into the standard they are supposed to be. So smoke still goes out to the public. And when it is out to the public, it will affect your health because of the environment you are walking in. And sometimes you are not aware, you are just passing through the city and there is a smoking zone there and the fumes are in the air and it's not something we can see. So you end up inhaling every other day and making our environment very very toxic. And when that gets into our body, it affects us without knowing. And you find you are wondering in my generation, because most of them say cancer is genetic. And so when you look at it that way, then they end up saying there is nobody in my lineage who has had cancer. So where did I get it? It is out of the environment. So it's a ripple effect. You just pick it. It's a ripple effect of both the trees, both the soil, the air that we breathe, and also the effect it has on our bodies. So we are saying we want to take care of that so that it can save our lives.
This is class 101. I didn't know it actually has an entire ripple effect. I mean, just the way you've mentioned, some people really would be asking, there's no one in my family who's ever had cancer, so how comes this 13-year-old is being affected by, you know, whatever form of cancer there might be? Now, she's just mentioned something about counties, and earlier on you had talked about the gender factor, whereby men tend to be the one who use, you know, this product more compared to women. So then does it mean also that in terms of region-based, that there perhaps in our country counties whereby this product is more grown or farmed more compared to other regions? And if so, why?
Okay, the agronomist can tell us that even this country, the coconut grows at the coastline. The grasslands, they grow something else. There is a coffee zone, there's a tea zone. And so the tobacco manufacturers, they looked at areas where the tobacco plant can be grown. Maybe they had considerations where tobacco needs to be grown. And so they marketed their crop there to be grown, and gave seedlings and gave the pesticides and fertilizers. And so very many farmers came into this hoping or knowing that it is a cash crop. Unfortunately, those farmers who have been growing tobacco, although they thought it is a cash crop, it has ended up being a disaster on their health and on the environment, like my technical chair has talked about. So coming to gender, it is not that men are affected more without a reason. It is the advertisement that was done earlier on about being macho, being cool, attracting more women if you are smoking, swinging the cigarette. So there was more an attraction to men because it was advertised and promoted as being culturally superior use of this product. But that was just exploiting the addictive nature of nicotine. Currently, what we have seen is the manufacturers have gone ahead and designed products in women colors, looking like the electronic, some are looking like just the car key, others are looking like the
new forms of tobacco.
The new forms of tobacco, vaping. Some is looking like lipstick. Some is looking like a disc. So different.
So they've become more creative?
More creative, and then camouflaging the flavor and put in more flavors, apple flavor, mango flavor, peach flavor, strawberry flavor, just to attract the women. Remember that the manufacturer and the importer want to expand their market base. That's why they target young people, because young people are increasing in population. Then they want to target more women so that more women come into the market and more men are retained in the market, because the addictive nature of nicotine and tobacco products makes you so addicted that you want to continue smoking. And so if it comes in form of pouches, or it comes in form of looking like lipstick, or looking like slim and sleek in pink colors, in colors that attract women, and then all the friends continue to do it, then everybody, because of peer pressure, they get into and get hooked, and they become permanent customers. So it's a question of cutting off peer pressure and cutting off the addiction. And that's why we are out here to tell Kenyans about these lies, these they are lies just to make profits.
So Nancy, just allow me to interject. So then does it mean that we now need to be more aware of even the kind of products that you're buying? Because I mean, when we talk about these new forms, the electronic cigarettes, the pouches, you mentioned earlier that some are even being hidden in candy. You know, you've mentioned the women products. So then does it mean that we need to really be more aware of even what we are buying, let alone what we are consuming?
Yes. In the law, in the Framework Convention of Tobacco Control, and the Tobacco Control Act, there is a demand for disclosure. Disclosure of the ingredients within tobacco products or nicotine pouches. And again, Kenya Bureau of Standards demands that every product being sold in Kenya, there's a disclosure of what is contained, and all the ingredients should be named there.
Yeah.
But there are people who still don't disclose what they have put in a product. And those are the products that we should be worried about.
Okay.
Because that exploiting addiction to something is very evil. Because if this product is so addictive, I must get it. And then one person is making profit out of my predicament of addiction, then that is evil. That's why we want to protect and have a generation.
It contravenes the law? It
contravenes the law, and that's why we want to have the generation that is tobacco-free by following the law.
All right, well said, well said. I mean, clearly we need to now be more aware. If you're buying those lipsticks, you know, the candy, just be aware of what you are buying. Now, let's cut to shisha. Was outlawed in 2017, but we still see this on the rise, particularly in night joints. And there's, to the extent that much as it's against the law, the way in which people are blowing it, it's like they're not aware of what the law says, or we might be aware, but I just want to have fun. Where is the missing link? Or what exactly is happening? It's really hazardous, particularly to our health.
In fact, that's why we are here to tell the Kenyans to be aware that shisha was banned and it stands banned. Why? Because even the laboratories have gone into it and brought out a report on what is contained in shisha. And remember, shisha is something that is inside a bottle. So when you blow it, you are not even aware what you are blowing yourself. And you see, the way it has been marketed is like it's the in thing. You are not in fashion if you are not blowing shisha. So we are coming out to tell our youth that this is not fashion. This is killing yourself. It is a dangerous product, and as much as there are people who break the law, it's not everybody who keeps the law. There are some who break the law, and that's why we are sensitizing our youth as much as possible to understand that when something stands banned, it's because the government is quite aware that this is it is a dangerous product and it will affect your health. And because we care about the public health and working together with the Ministry of Health, we know that the public health is at stake when they blow shisha. And so we are telling everyone to be aware, but we are also going into the law. We are putting the law in place and making sure that we are sending people even in nightclubs to make sure that they try and
doing due diligence.
Yeah, they do due diligence and also see how do we engage in this so that we make sure that anyway, even if we don't bring it into the nightclubs, people carry it at home. So the most important thing is for you to be able to understand, as much as you are doing it in your house, which somebody may not come to look at it at your house or to see what you are consuming in your house. It still stands that shisha is banned. Its contents are not good for human consumption, and it kills, and it brings cancer and many other adverse effects that are coming into it. The reason why we have started a war, and at the same time information to the colleges and to the tertiary education institutions and to the universities to tell the students. We had an engagement with some students last night and they were so surprised that shisha is banned. And they were also so surprised that tobacco products cause a lot of harm to their bodies. And they called us into different universities and says, please come and help us. We are stuck in this thing. We think it's fashion, but it's not. And that's why we are bringing in everybody to be aware of the law and asking as much as possible in connection with the regulating authorities to see that we make sure that this does not happen again, especially in the bus.
Well said, Lilian.
Yes.
And just as we wind down this conversation, I'd want to finish with you, Nancy, in under 1 minute. What would be your call to action, even as we gear up for the World No Tobacco Day next week on Tuesday?
Thank you very much. We are going to 24 counties today, tomorrow, and the day after. And the next phase, within the month of June, we'll go to all the counties, another 23 counties. We are saying, if you are addicted to nicotine and tobacco, please go to any health center under universal health care. There is cessation program in every health center. Every health worker is aware that when you come in, you are asked the question, have you ever smoked? Do you smoke? Does anybody within your environment smoke? So let us all move to the health centers because there is rescue there. Number 2, parents, if we want to save a generation, let us stop smoking in front of our children. Anyone who had interacted with cigarette smoke, shisha products, or nicotine product, nicotine pouches, vaping, electronic devices. When COVID came, they were hard hit. So let us rescue a generation and rescue Kenyans out of this tobacco use.
Good place to end it. Let's rescue a generation. Let's rescue Kenyans. All right, and I have been speaking to Nancy Gachoka, just to my immediate right. She is the chair, Tobacco Control Board, as well as Lilian Mbevi, the chair, Technical Committee, Tobacco Control Board, obviously talking to us about the adverse effects of tobacco. And you've heard it from them, even as we gear up towards the World No Tobacco Day, which is being commemorated on the 31st of May, 2022. That is next week, Tuesday. That's a good place to end this conversation. Plenty more after this break. Stay with us.